What's going on, y'all? It's been a little bit of time since I think we've been actually live. Obviously, with the various different shows going on over the recent month, in and out. This little product launch that we just did. So I'm super excited to be back, actually here with all of you, so that we can chat, we can answer questions, we can talk about gear, we can talk about just Lumix in general. But before we jump into the S9 and the rest of the stream today, I do just want to take a minute to address the S9 launch event that we did in Osaka, and some of the recent commentary that's been on YouTube about it. I was personally tasked with the responsibility to extend invitations to all the creators, the YouTube channels, the reviewers that were part of North America. And I just want to say, apparently my invite wasn't really clearly received by everyone that I spoke to. In general, across the board, our brand has always been looking for honest, non-biased feedback on the products. I think that's kind of what you see here with LUMIX Live. This is how we evolve. It's better to serve the actual community and growing and just make everything better as we move forward. The individuals that all attended the S9 event have worked incredibly hard on their own channels to build trust, to build a reputation among their followers, as truth, as their responsibility there. And that's the exact reason why we extend invitations out to those people. Truth with product launches in general, they are, from our perspective, they're honestly just celebrations of the thousands and thousands of hours that go into product development. And we're always excited to see that first reaction from photographers, videographers, YouTubers, creators in general, and to get their feedback, whether that's positive or negative. It's the biggest thing that we value in working with everybody, in inviting people, in talking to everybody. So, about the S9 itself, from my perspective, straight up, I think everyone here has heard my opinions on a lot of the cameras, the equipment that we have, and while generally I am very super excited from day one the second I see a spec list or an idea of a product that we have coming. Usually I tend to be very excited about it because I can see where the plan is going to be with those products. With the S9, to be fully brutally honest with y'all, I wasn't that thrilled about the camera when we first were presented this, as this is a product we are going to come out with. I didn't fully understand it. On paper, I think I had a very similar opinion that many of y'all had. However, I am truly one of those people that will sit and give a product its due. Get hands-on with it. I will listen to what others say. I will take in all of that commentary, try to form my own opinion on it, and not just write a product off from day one. What I can say unequivocally is that this camera has been one of the most fun cameras that I've ever shot with. And it doesn't have to be the most highly spec'd, high-end product in the world. There are reasons that this camera are super enjoyable for me to shoot with and really fun, and I think that's something that surprises a lot of people. So hopefully as we kind of go through the stream today and, kind of get to our normal, kind of cadence of conversation here, hopefully I can express some of the reasons why I just have so much fun with this camera, and whether you agree or you disagree with me, that's cool. That's what the internet's for. That's what this stream is for. The one thing that I will say is be respectful in the chat. If you decide to go on a tirade against someone else's opinion, if you decide to use language in the chat that is unacceptable by our terms, realistically by my terms, I will be putting comments in timeout if you decide to use language or attack somebody else's perspective. You're not going to be banned. You're just going to be put in timeout, because I want this to be a conversation about the product, about just everything in general, because it is fun. There is a big piece of photography and videography, I think, that has been missing for a very long time, and this did bring it back for me. Will it bring it back for you? Maybe, maybe not. But that's why we talk about this equipment. And just keep in mind that when we designed the S9, it is not designed as an S5 Mark II Mini or an S5 2X Mini. This is a camera to have fun. This is a camera that is really leveling up from point and shoots, from phones, into that category where you really want that kind of higher level image quality and you want that direct seamless function into the mobile device, because we made a big deal about the LUMIX Lab app, and we're going to talk about that as well too. So all of that being said, let's talk about the camera. Let's kind of have some fun conversations about it, because I've got mine right here, the one that I have not taken out of my bag. Well, not out of my bag. I haven't left it in my apartment or anywhere when I haven't gone out yet. Since, well, honestly, for the last almost 2 months that I've been hands-on with this product. So it's a lot of fun. Well, actually, before we dive into that, I'm all like jumping around here. I want to remind everybody here in the US about LUMIX Pro Services. We have LUMIX Pro Services Red and Platinum in the US. If you've just recently purchased a camera, get yourself registered for LUMIX Pro Services Red. It's free. You just use the QR code down below, the one that's like right there, or the link down in the description. I think I remembered to put the link in the description. If not, I'll make sure it's there afterwards. But yeah, get yourself registered. It's free. It's the service and support backend for the camera and equipment. If you are looking, or someone who prefers much higher level service and support, make sure to check out the Platinum series, or the Platinum membership there. That's going to get you that 3-year warranty. It's going to get you 2 days repair with free shipping next day, both ways. It gets 20% off out of warranty repairs, firmware updates, all of that kind of fun stuff. So be sure to take a look at that. That's available in the US. Links will be down in the description. If you've got anybody else outside of the US, you can take a look at the global links, see which version's available within your region. And yeah, there you go. So let's take a look at some of the questions. And just a heads up, I have some help in the chat, which are gonna just help in case I miss some questions. Because truth be told, I'm tired. I'm very tired from the last couple of weeks of travel. So I want to make sure that I don't kind of miss anyone's questions. So where were the first ones? Would love the S9 with an actual leather wrap, perhaps an aftermarket wrap. That would be something really cool. Getting, there's kind of that fun era of being able to get into like customizing your camera, because go figure, colors can be fun on a camera. Not just the colors that come out of the camera, but the actual colors of the camera. And personally for me, while I have a black one right here, just straight up black, and I still have the covering over the LUMIX logo there, I've definitely, kind of come into love with this green one. And for those asking, this is an old Leica M 35mm Sumeron. It's actually from one of the M cameras where you had to have the goggles attached to it, just with a simple adapter on here, because this is how I'm using this camera. I'm using it as a just go around, get back to the basics of image creation, and the odd video clip when I want, which we're going to talk about a little bit later for the microphone that I'm using on this. Hopefully address some questions that people may have about that. Let's see here. While not the S9, I would love to see hybrid zoom functionality come to the S5 II and 2X. So would I. I have some actual photo examples too. I've got my Lightroom catalog from the Osaka trip open so that we can, kind of take a look and you can see what I mean. Hopefully see what I mean with it. But yeah. Sebastian. With the release of the S9, did Panasonic decide to abandon the Micro Four Thirds mount? I have the impression that LUMIX tried to put the strengths of Micro Four Thirds in the L mount, small body and lenses. So, no, not at all. Micro Four Thirds is still one of the core pieces of our business. It's not going anywhere. Don't worry. I get the irony of me saying that for you, but you understand what I mean. The truth of the matter is, I don't know when the industry in general made this change. It's at least within the last decade. just because we develop on Micro Four Thirds in, say, like the G9 Mark II, and then we develop an S9 in full frame, and that one is as small as we can make it, and it's designed for that kind of target user. They're not mutually exclusive of each other, and I'm not sure where this kind of logic has grown from. Micro Four Thirds, I mean, if you look at as far as development goes, the Micro Four Thirds system, the G9 Mark II, has an insanely different sensor than what is used in cameras that are in the full frame world. The DR boost functionality, the readout speed of that sensor, the fact that it's able to pair with our engine and do the DR boost functionality is not something that's common in sensor development outside of what you may be able to see in ultra high-end spec cinema cameras. So to say that we're not putting strengths into Micro Four Thirds, I think is missing some of the context in the overall system. We're a large company. We can have two brands. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So Micro Four Thirds isn't going anywhere. G9 Mark II shows that we can make really high-spec Micro Four Thirds cameras or crop-censored cameras that, if you look at some independent tests, produce better dynamic range than the APS-C cameras that are often touted as being top level. So all of that said, again, it's just that we can make both of these systems. Right now, we're releasing the S9. That's the current camera that we worked on and we're releasing. So take that as it is. It's face value. Future development, obviously I can't talk about future development. Those are things that are highly protected as far as brands go, no matter who you talk to. But the Micro Four Thirds world is alive and well, especially within our brand. We are super excited about that line and that system. So yeah, I know patience is a hard thing to have, especially these days when everything comes at you from a million miles an hour in a million different directions. But yeah. That's about all I can say about that. Does the new app LUMIX Lab, or is the new app LUMIX Lab good for the S5 II, the 2X, S5, S1, etc.? You've got all of them, and and the S5 2X is amazing. Yes. So this is actually what's really cool is while yes, we have the new LUMIX Lab app. It is being released in tandem with the S9. So yes, of course, newest camera, newest app, you deploy them together. Awesome. We have confirmed that it is expected to be compatible with the S5 Mark II, the S5 Mark IIX, and the G9 Mark II. The app is going to be available on the Android App Store on 5/29. iOS App Store, it's coming soon. So I encourage you, once that comes out, and I'll leave a link in the chat, so you can go take a look and download the app, or at least see the page when downloading is available. I encourage you to play around with it. The coolest thing with it too, and I think one of the pieces that gets kind of missed, is that yes, it's designed to pair with our camera, but if you want to load images that you've already got transferred to your phone, that are from an S5 II, that are even just images that you've taken on your phone, you can load them into the app and start already playing around with the various different edit controls, creating your own LUTs, downloading through the community, checking out the various people that already have LUTs within the community, and kind of get yourself a good head start for when it becomes compatible with your camera, or when it's ready to go when, or if you've ordered an S9 yourself. So definitely links in the chat now. I'll put it in the description as well, because I forgot that we had the page up already. And yeah, definitely play around with it. Sorry for the little bit of a raspy voice. We've had weird weather here in Austin, so. Wishes for the G9 Mark II firmware update. One bird AF in 4K 120 faster, saving images on card. When the buffer is full, no freezing till empty, but shooting with reduced FPS. I will definitely pass that on, Dieter. That's the kind of feedback we always like to hear. You know, if there's ways that you think you'd rather see the camera work, we'll always bring it up and see if we can get it done. DJ, this is a good question. What brought Lumix to decide to limit the recording time of different modes on the S9? As tested by several people, it seems that overheating is a non-issue when the cameras within the camera. Reconsider ? So I think all of you kind of understand, or those that are new to the Lumix brand, maybe you don't understand because you haven't seen it before. We at Lumix hold a very high standard on thermal management when it comes to the environments that a camera is going to be capable to record in and what our testing environments are. With that said, I'm saying that a lot. I got to get out of saying the same phrase over and over again. So because of that, we test cameras to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's 40 C? 20 C? I'm bad. 40 C in Celsius. Because of that, our cameras have to operate at that temperature. That's what we rate them for. So when you see like the S9 with the various time limitations, it's because those are time limitations that are garnered by the 104 degree Fahrenheit testing that we do. Does that mean in day-to-day shooting it's not going to overheat? Yeah, probably not. But it's our standard that we have it built to. We understand the feedback from everybody out in the market. Everyone out, it's actually looking at cameras and video tools and whatever it is. And we're always open to listening to the feedback and seeing, okay, you know, is this really as hypercritical of a component anymore? If it's something that we can control, is it something that we can, maybe shift, find a different way to enable certain things? But just understand that, or hopefully please understand, or try to understand, that in general, it goes to that whole kind of core of our video recording functionality. If we have a camera that's labeled as unlimited recording, it's because it can do it all the way up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit or down to 0 or negative 10 degrees Celsius. The S9 is no different in that case. So that's what the ratings were set to. We are always open to the feedback. I think y'all have seen that on this live stream before. And we'll take that into consideration and bring it to the engineering team. So can't make any promises. Obviously, I'm not an engineer, but we'll bring it there. I'm just going to say D because I don't want to butcher your name. Hello, is there a chance that MP4 Lite 4K OpenGate will be available to the GH6, G9 Mark II, S5 II? I'd love to use this mode, but the S9 doesn't suit my needs. Thanks for the info. That's another one of those things where, yes, the S9 has a new recording option in it, the MP4 Lite, or what we call OpenGate Lite. Seeing that potentially come to other cameras, it's always under study. As we listen to the feedback from everybody, if there's enough stance there, if there's enough kind of call for it and the engineering team can do it, then they take a look. Can never promise anything, as always, and I'm sorry if I start to sound like a repeating record there, but we'll always try to do and improve our products. I think our firmware update history kind of shows that we're not afraid to make major improvements to cameras or add major things to the products over their life cycles. Sometimes it may just take a little bit of time to implement within various different hardware components, if it's even possible. So, let's see here. Can I use OpenGate 6K horizontal with high E stabilization and get good 1/3 screen for vertical social media? Yes, you can. That's actually one of the biggest things that I do with it in general. If I am going to be recording, I'm going to be using, at least with the S9 now, I'll use MP4 Lite. And I'll be shooting, capturing. I've got enough vertical resolution so that on my iPhone, it's the right vertical resolution for it. And it's good. I get the added benefit of working with ultra shallow depth of field that the phone still can't really properly do. And I get the much more creative freedom with it. So yeah, you can 100% do it. The biggest thing is that the MP4 Lite mode is specifically designed as a much lighter package so that you can send it to a mobile device and do it very quickly. If you're recording, even on a S5 Mark II or an S5 Mark II X, if you're recording in 6K OpenGate, You'll notice that, one, those are MOV files. MOV files don't really play the greatest across the board with all mobile devices. MP4 plays much cleaner with mobile devices. It's a lot more understood and recognizable across all the devices. So that's why that camera has that mode to start with. But yeah, it definitely can. Another very popular request by people is photography-specific compacts with a viewfinder, mechanical shutter, and possibly high-res sensor. Please make it so. We are willing to vote for it. Before I answer that, DJ, question. Are you commenting to say that you want a compact, photography-oriented camera that strips video features away? Before I answer the question, I want to hear your feedback on that, because I don't want to go down one path if you're looking at it from a different perspective. Tom, while I am not in the target market for the S9, I think it was a good marketing move. I think it was a good marketing move. I would be more interested in an updated LX100 or preferably a GX10. Interesting thoughts. Yeah. What's the timeline for release of LUMIX Lab for iOS and implementation of compatibility with S5 II, 2X, and G9 II? I don't have a timeline for those things yet. As we get closer, obviously, we'll let you all know through social media, through LUMIX Live, all that kind of stuff. We'll definitely get you all that kind of information. LHC, off S9 topic, but why, when using movie mode on G9 II, can you not restrict the IS to vertical only? It's grayed out while in movie mode, unless I'm not understanding something. I'll have to do a little bit of research on that, LHC. We are going to do another stream this Thursday at 2 p.m., the normal time for LUMIX Live. So hopefully I'll be able to get an answer for you by that point. I apologize, I don't have an answer for you right now. Cliff, can you explain the S9 recording time limitations and how they apply to the S9 intended market versus S5 II audience? Yes, I can. This is a really good point. So with the S9, I know a lot of people are going on about time limitations with video. 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute. Fact of the matter is, if we take 2 seconds back, if we take literally just 2 seconds and think critically here, how many times, if you are making quick cut videos for things like social media, how many times do you go out, and if you are using your phone as a good example, how many times for that one thing that you may want to share up on TikTok, on your Instagram stories, on Reels, stuff like that, how often are you recording more than at most 5 minutes? Truthfully. Fact is that the video recording on this camera, like we mentioned, it's not an S5 Mark II. It was never designed to be one. The vast majority of content that is uploaded to things like TikTok or all these other platforms, they're done so in very short clips. And that's one of the reasons why things like real-time LUT are more useful in cases like that. In no way is this going to replace your professional camera. I mean, I have access to every single one of our cameras. Excuse me. I've got an S5 IIX sitting next to me. I've got my G9 Mark II sitting next to me. And actually, I have another S5 IIX sitting right behind it. They're all cameras that I use. I've got one caged. I've got my G9 Mark II cage. And I have one non-caged S5 Mark IIX. The fact is, if I know that I need to record much longer form content, and like if I'm going to be recording a LUMIX Live for a future recording kind of thing, right? Yeah, I'm going to use those cameras. 100%. I'm going out to dinner with my wife. I'm going on a motorcycle ride with some friends, and we're going to go through an area that I've never been to. This is the one I'm bringing, hands down. The video clips that I'm going to make are going to be things that are going to live on social media. So at longest, they're going to be anywhere between 1 minute to at most 5 minutes. So the 15, 10, and 20-minute time length don't matter in that case. Plus, like I said, with the thermal management, the way we've built it, you can just press the recording button again. It is rare. And I was actually just in LA doing a an actual full filming piece there. Even in that full-blown, high-end, professional studio sense, the longest clip that we recorded was about 15 minutes. Because reading from anything, watching talent, on set, things like that, we were supporting a production. No one does 20-minute uncut takes, and that's the take that you're going to go with. So it's a matter of perspective, taking 2 steps back, or 2 seconds, and kind of thinking critically about the stuff. If you do need unlimited, we make those cameras. If you take a look and you realize, hey, for its intended purpose, I don't need unlimited recording, I'm never going to be recording more than 10 minutes, you got the camera for you. Any chance of using an EVF with a micro C or micro HDMI on the S9? Very cool camera in my opinion, and would love to pair it with an S5 IIX as an everyday camera. Not through USB-C. I guess theoretically you could get, if someone made a tiny little EVF that just pulled over HDMI, sure, you could. The HDMI port is on the grip side of the camera, so you would just have to keep that in mind. So that is where that would go. But, theoretically you could. It's a clean HDMI out, or you can have info display out over HDMI. So, yeah, you could do it. That's fine. Let's see here. Adrian, I do professional and personal video. I searched my SSDs. Out of 2,500 MOV files, only one is over 15 minutes. Yeah. It's great. There's a lot about this camera that I think is jarring to some people, because it is genuinely a fun camera. And what I mean by that is, when we strip down the concepts of working with an S5 II or a 2X, say, as your professional tool, how often are you going to want to take that out for a date night? Or take that out in a situation where it's like, hey, I'm traveling between destinations, I'm going on vacation, I'm taking a flight somewhere, and this is my personal time. How often do you really want to take your full-blown rig with you? Whether you've got a simple cage on it, like my G9 Mark II here, or a full-blown rig if you're more in the video cinema side. How often do you really want to take that kit with you? When you have the opportunity to take something that, yes, has compromises because of what it's designed for, but still, the image quality is going to be the same. You're going to get the same image quality out of this. You just have different use cases. That's what's so fun about it to me. I don't even have to think about it. I packed a single small little, the Peak Design backpack that I use, which I don't even know where it is at this moment. I just packed a Peak Design backpack, threw some clothes in it, my S9, a couple of lenses, and this lens that I actually broke out of mothballs in my closet, and just went and had fun with it. So, greetings from the Netherlands. One thing the S9, here we go. Al says, one thing the S9 succeeded in was making the wife happy. She said, finally a camera with less buttons and tiles than the space shuttle. It's a fair point. I think, in general, we have to poke fun at the industry as a whole, right? It's rare that cameras really do become fun, and a lot of times there are people that are not within this space, that don't watch these streams, that don't go on forums, that aren't part of the Facebook groups, and they just want a camera. They want a camera that is not intimidating from the looks of it, that they know they're going to get good quality from, and bring a sense of joy to photo and video. And I personally think we've got a really solid offering in this for specifically those. For those of us that come from the high-end pro side of it, you just have to look at it a little differently. And the whole commentary that I made before about how, just look at it in the concept of, I don't want to carry around my larger, heavier equipment or my fully rigged out stuff, but I still want the same image quality. Cool, you got an option for it. It does have drawbacks, but that's up to you to decide whether or not those drawbacks are worth it or not. And that's perfectly fine. One person's going to love this camera, another person's going to hate this camera. That's okay. That's why there are so many cameras that exist in this world. So, let's see here. Pre-ordered a red S9. Would really have ordered the silver top had it been available in the US. Let Lumix know we want more colors available in the US. Oh, yeah. I did get to see the silver one that's limited in regions, and I really do like it. I really do like it. But to me, honestly, the green one is still just my favorite. But that's because I have like an old school. I loved like the old Leica Safari Edition cameras. So I think that's why I'm drawn to the green leatherette. Chad, this is a good point. Price point for the S9 being so close to the S5 II and the 2X is where I think Panasonic lost you. That's a valid point. You know, for some people, we put value on different parts of what it is that we're spending our money on, right? For you, sure, that's totally fair logic. For the next person, it might not be at all because of that kind of point that for a little bit more money, could you buy an S5 II or a 2X? Yeah, but it's going to be a very different use experience compared to the S9. It's more in-depth. Yes, it has more functionality, more capabilities, but sometimes that's just not what people want. Sometimes people want more simple, more easy to use from their perspective. And one thing I'm going to say is I am so incredibly proud of this entire community in this chat right now, because the fact that we can all just have conversations about this. Someone doesn't like it, cool. Someone loves it, awesome. Huge shout out to everybody here. That's whether you're lurking in the shadows and not commenting or you are commenting, it's awesome. It makes me happy and understand that the internet is not as dark of a place as it always seems to be sometimes. Angelo says, why not an S9 in Micro Four Thirds format? Because it's an S9 in full frame. No, the reality is it's just, this was the camera that we designed at the moment. Like I said, it doesn't mean that there's never going to be more Micro Four Thirds cameras. I think that's one of those points that gets lost in the space of the internet because there are so many different opinions, and it does get hard sometimes to go through and say, well, you see a shocker headline or you see an article get posted somewhere, and to think that, you know, my system's gone or it's dying, and the truth is it's not. When you actually look at the kind of what happens with this stuff, sensationalized articles, things like that online, they're always going to happen. Micro Four Thirds, it's still, as I said, it's a core piece of our business. It's what built us as the brand that we are. Full frame is an area that we get to expand into, and with the resources that we develop between the two different sensor sizes and formats, we see a lot of parallels between them. We see a lot of synergy with things we develop in Micro Four Thirds to things we develop in full frame. I think the S5 Mark II and the S5 Mark IIX and now the S9's autofocus system with the detection options, those are straight from what we deployed on the G9 Mark II. So they're not, it's not a one or the other. It is a true, they both push each system forward because we can work at problems from different angles through both systems as far as how we want technology to move forward. KC says, will the S9 work with Lumix Tether for live streaming to Teams or Zoom or etc.? Yeah, from my testing, it works fine with Lumix Tether. What's the plan with Lumix Lab? Will it replace Lumix Sync app entirely? I think it's safe to say that over time, you're going to see more features get brought into Lumix Lab. To start with, obviously, was making sure that the transfer of images was seamless, so that literally they show up on your phone in the photo gallery, so that when you don't even really have to go into the app to tweak them if you're using real-time LUT. You just open up the sharing app that you want to use, take the image, and post it just as if you captured it on your phone. But there are certain things that the app doesn't have. Like, it doesn't have remote control yet. It doesn't have really remote control, camera save settings, live stream functionality for like the S5 IIX. Eventually, things like that I would envision are going to come to the app. I just don't know the timelines for it yet. Again, really sorry for the raspy voice here. Okay. Before I go too far into any more questions, I want to talk about the microphones, because Elementary just made a comment about the LUMIX S9 is a great choice for mic set. Includes separate headphone and camera output too, plus the mics can record internally. So what I wanted to mention to everybody is, so often we get very tied up about some of the input outputs on the cameras, because yes, the S9 does not have a headphone jack. Has a 3.5 millimeter microphone in. Yeah. For some, not having the mic jack on the camera can be a deal breaker. Totally fine. The camera does have levels, so you can watch the levels and kind of get yourself right in the range that you need. But honestly, products like this is a Saramonic set of microphones that, full transparency, Saramonic gave these to me. I'm going to talk about some other mics too that I don't have. But the receivers on a lot of these modern microphones, if you've actually looked at some of the newer sets, they've got headphone jack and they've got output into the actual camera itself. They've also got a lot of the other kind of cool stuff, like, they've got screen for info. This series, which is the, which one is this? This is the Blink 500 B2 Plus. They all also have like the thing set so that you can, if I can figure this out, so that you can plug it into your mobile device if you were using it that way. Microphone technology has come really far in features that used to be kind of held for very high-end recording, to the point now where they are ridiculously inexpensive. As an example, this kit, which comes with the two transmitters, a receiver, the iPhone and the Android tab pieces, the dead cat stuff, the cables to plug it into your phone or to your camera, it's $130 US. 5 years ago, yeah, you'd be talking about, $500 to $1,000 for a set of really good wireless microphones that were 2-channel. The prices have dropped so low now that a microphone input, especially on a camera that is designed for what it is, that, let's face it, people typically put soundtracks over social media content that's being shared. But if you are going to do video recording with it, you've got options for monitoring audio, or you can just monitor the audio on the screen itself because you've got the levels with our cameras. Means that in reality, when we take a step back, for this camera, audio levels aren't as big of a challenge for that. Higher end cameras, you need a headphone jack, you need mic input, you need full-size HDMI. Yep, that's why we got an S5 II and a 2X. I think it's Simone says, may I ask you who is the S9 intended for? Concisely, it's made for anybody. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but the reality is the S9 is a camera that can find itself great in the hands of social media creators. I know we hate the term social media content creators. It seems like there's a lot of confusion as to what that means. When we use it, it's photographers and videographers. The truth is, content creators is just a lot easier to say than photographers and videographers. Photographers and videographers. It's just easier. And it allows us to not have to, or not unintentionally come across as pigeonholing a camera as photo or video. It's another way of describing a hybrid user, hybrid creator. So the S9, it was built for those that are coming from maybe a phone or a point and shoot that recognize that, you want higher quality because they may want to try to emulate what everybody else is doing online. By everybody else, I mean some of you in the chat that have YouTube channels that create beautiful content, that are working professionals. People inherently understand what the benefits are of going to a much higher end camera. However, a lot of times those cameras can be intimidating to jump into. So the S9 slots right into that kind of spot below the S5 II and the 2X, gives you access to the image quality that you want in a much higher end camera, but without necessarily the intimidation factor that comes with higher end cameras. Now, you may agree or disagree that that's a factor in this world. I am on the side that it is because we've done research and research proves it. But that's who the camera's built for. You could also say that, as I've been saying a couple of times, for those of us that have the higher end cameras that work professionally, this is a camera that means I don't have to take the big stuff with me, and I can't reiterate this enough. It's a fun camera because I don't think about all those other things when I'm using it. I don't worry about rolling shutter. I don't worry about shooting it in low light scenarios because, truth be told, I've not had any problems with it when I've been shooting with it for the last 2 months. Can I force rolling shutter on an electronic shuttered system? Yeah, of course you can. Just like I can force a raw video file to break apart with color grading. If you intentionally go out to try to create something, like breaking a file through post-processing, force rolling shutter on a sensor that is reasonably fast within modern era, and not a kind of outlier as far as speed and performance, yeah, you can make these things happen. In day-to-day life, shooting with it, I encourage everybody, day-to-day life, take your camera, put it in electronic shutter, and go photograph with it for a day. Casually photograph it for a day. Because again, this camera's not designed to be a wedding photographer's camera as your primary. That's not what we built it for. And yeah. So, that's who I think it's for. Let's see here. Do you know anything about the development of Samyang's lenses? No. Yeah, not allowed to. People think that the L-Mount Alliance means that all the companies talk together about like future development and stuff like that. That doesn't happen. That can't happen because that's illegal. We're all individual companies. We all have our own plans, our own products, our own roadmaps, our own goals for making cameras and lenses. The thing that binds us is the fact that the lens mount and the communication is built on a standard. That means that if they want to build it, or we build a lens on it, or somebody else builds a lens on the L mount, it has specific requirements that the lens has to abide by for being compatible and validated within that mount, for that company to be part of it. Outside of that, they'll develop what they want to develop, we develop what we want to develop, and never shall the two ever pass or coincide to each other, because that's not how businesses work. DJ, can we possibly get support for Lumix Lab for previous Lumix cameras, even if it means cutting off some of the technically unavailable features? I don't know. It's something that I will bring up to the engineering team. I know we can see Matt's in here too. It's something we'll definitely bring up to them. So yeah, I'd love to see a version of the new Lumix app made for Windows to use as a lightweight tool. That's definitely an interesting concept. We'll have to pass that on to the team as well. Does the S9 support the DMW SHGR1 tripod grip? On a side note, can we buy a small conversion cable that comes with it? Apparently asked before as well. Sorry. I don't know if that cable's available separately. Because I think that's more of like a parts department kind of thing. It's not like an item that would be sold separately. But the updated version of the tripod grip that does have the USB-C end on it. It, I believe, is compatible with this. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be. I don't have one here to test it, though, unfortunately. Also, can Samyang's optics, I assume this means optics, be considered native lenses in Lumix bodies, just as Sigma are considered native? If it's on the L mount and it's certified by Leica, and it's certified that it is part of the L mount alliance, since Leica owns the L mount alliance, yeah, I can't see why they wouldn't be considered first party, like the Sigma lenses are on our system too. Yeah. When will the 18 to 40 kit be available? 18 to 40 millimeter, we haven't had any kind of comments on when that one's going to be around yet. So, let me just double check here. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, YouTube. All right. I have said this before, and I will say this again. I am putting anyone in timeout that decides to spam or add nothing to the commentary. So I am sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. You're in timeout now. Okay. Let's go back up to the chat here. Let's see here. I have help pointing out the questions that are coming in because, man, there's a lot of questions coming in, and I just realized how far behind the chat I am on this. Where did we go? Let's see here. Okay. Don't worry, everybody. Dark Horse has been put in timeout. Where did we go? There we go. Thank you. Jason, will we be able to purchase the green S9 body without the 20 to 60 millimeter lens? I went to pre-order on B&H, and I've only gotten the option with the lens. I already have two 20 to 60s. Unfortunately, within the United States, the color variants of the camera are only coming as kits. I don't know if that's going to change. I'd have to talk to our team here on our side. And if it is something that can change, I don't know how fast something like that would be able to change. So, sorry. Where do we go? Roger, many people love the GM1. I still have mine and use it with the 15mm f1.7. This is kind of a full frame GM1 and people go crazy. Is it for me? Question. No, but if I got one, read next. It would be a great everyday B-roll camera to my S5 II X and S5. Thanks for adding that read next part. I was like, uh-oh, what else is coming there? Yeah, that's kind of it, Roger. It's a great B/C camera. It's a fun camera to use, and you get S5 Mark II image quality out of it, for what it's designed as. Yeah. Was wondering if the S9. Hi Sean, thanks for doing the. I think it's live stream. No problem. That's what I'm here for. Was wondering if the S9 can serve as a webcam B cam. Also, if in the future the record limitations will be lifted in a future update. As far as the record time limitations, I don't know. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, we have pretty strict kind of guidelines internally for what we hold a product up to for thermal management. That's going to be a discussion that's going to be well farther above my head. However, that's why we have these streams. You guys give us the feedback. Our team sees it. It lets them kind of understand where people's perspectives are on various different pieces. And, yeah, we kind of go from there. Thanks, Sean, for doing the live streams and going through everything. Sadly, that Lightroom L rumors spoiled the surprise. 2 questions. Firmware, G9 Mark II, more LUT slots. Hybrid zoom for G9 Mark II since no digital. So, yeah, two things we can look here. As far as future firmware updates go on like G9 Mark II, S5 II, S5 IIX, obviously I don't have anything I can say about firmware updates in the future for product development. We are always listening and always kind of taking the feedback. If there are things that people really love about, pieces of new cameras as they come out, we always try to work and see, well, is it feasible to bring into the other cameras? Does it have the support system needed? As in, does it have the hardware to do it? and then kind of go from there, and see what we can get updated. What I will say is that the LUMIX Lab app is designed, and as we've stated on the page for the app, that we are expecting to have compatibility with S5 II, S5 IIX, and G9 Mark II. So what I would say is take that as you will. And yeah, that's where that one is. Hybrid zoom. For those that I haven't even gotten anywhere near hybrid zoom yet. Hybrid zoom and crop zoom are the new features that we did add into the camera. Crop zoom, pretty self-explanatory. It's literally you can just take a fixed focal length lens. You can then use the digital crop to progressively change the focal length by cropping into the image. It affects the JPEG only. So the JPEG image that you get out of the camera will be with that crop. And then your RAW file is untouched. So you stay at the full 24 megapixel full frame sensor. Hybrid zoom is a little bit of a different way of doing this. Hybrid zoom is progressively applying crop to the mechanical zoom that you apply to the lens that you have on it. So that means that when it's off, my 20 to 60 millimeter is a 20 to 60 millimeter. When I turn it on, and if I select XS for the file, the JPEG size that I want, so if I just need a JPEG to go on social, I don't necessarily need this to be, you know, the highest resolution thing in the world. I'm doing this for social capture. I can turn hybrid zoom on, and as I zoom the lens, it's progressively combining optic and digital zoom simultaneously to turn that 20 to 60 millimeter lens into a 20 to 187 millimeter lens. The 28 to 300 becomes even longer at that, because you get about a 3.1 times magnification. And if you're in the video side, this means that if you're using like a 24 to 70 or a 20 to 60, 20 to 60 is the one I can just do because I know the math off the top of my head. If I'm using the 20 to 60, I can set it that I'm fine to go down to pixel to pixel ratio for video capture. And as I zoom, I can get up to a 3 times magnification there. So if I'm in full HD filming and I zoom in, I get a much longer reach. If I'm in 4K, I get a little bit less of a reach. If I'm in Open Gate Light or the MP4 Light, I can go down to APS-C region, so I get less than 3.1 times magnification. But in video, it makes a lot more sense because you're always still going to have the resolution of the video that you're recording. In the JPEG and the still side of it, yeah, your trade-off there is I need really long reach, but I'm okay with the smaller output JPEG because my RAW file is still going to have the full 24 megapixel, and I can always go in later and recrop if I want. As an example of this, so this is from the hotel that I was at, and this is Osaka Castle. This is at with the 100mm f2.8 macro, one of my favorite lenses to shoot photography with as well, general photography, not just macro. And this is the full 4000 by 6000 image. So I'm shooting vertically. Cool. I've got the information there. Fine. But if in the moment I needed a really quick grab from that, I can do the hybrids, or the crop zoom in this case, which is the 3.1 times magnification. And on that same 100mm macro lens, I've got a 1920 by 1280 image. So not breaking any records for high resolution here. Believe me, I understand. But this is still enough of a resolution that if I'm sharing on social because I really liked that image, I don't have to take the file into software. I don't have to crop it. I don't have to worry about, do I have the raw editing software to do it? I just do it in camera and grab that shot knowing that my raw file is still protected for that particular image. And then when it comes to things like the electronic shutter, I want to address electronic shutter in lower light scenarios and situations that I know some people may have some challenges with electronic shutter. And I can tell you, as I mentioned, I've used this camera a lot, and we went to dinner and went to a really nice, kind of grill. For those that are vegetarians and vegans, I apologize. This is just the images that I have that show the difference here. If this image bothers you, I'm sorry. Genuinely. you can see here, I had the camera set. I'm using the 26mm f8. I'm at 80th of a second, 12,800 ISO. I'm using the real-time LUT function here. So I have my particular style of grain and look into the image, and there's no banding. The camera has, if you are in, say, program or even aperture, you can use synchro scan. That will allow you to go in there and change and kind of subtly adjust your shutter speed. That's if you need to do that. If you don't need to do that, I'm here at 200th of a second at, again, the 26mm f8. This is the full 6000 by 4000 image, 12,800 ISO. There's no banding. So lower light scenarios where you're indoors and forcing yourself to go really, really mixed lighting scenario, can banding happen? Sure, but we have tools in the camera, especially for those that may throw it in fully automatic if you're just going to be using it as a glorified point and shoot. It's got the system in there to detect the flicker and make sure that it's on it's on a shutter speed that is going to offset so you're not stuck with banding in an image. Shots like this at a really, really dark bar, testing out, again, the 26mm f8, 13th of a second here, 13th of a second there, 25th of a second, playing around with the different shots, 8th of a second. Never once in the lower light scenario shooting, even when we're outdoors, did I run into a situation where banding was something that I was concerned about. It just never really came up. I'm sure if I wanted to force it to happen, I could. I think anybody can. But in the actual going out and photographing and shooting with the camera, I never ran into it. And that's kind of that reason that I say the camera was fun to shoot with. Because as I was going through the night, as I was going through a couple of days here in Osaka with the camera, I never once thought about it. The first 5 minutes of going out and taking the camera out, sure, it was a thought in the back of my head. But as I just kept shooting with the camera and enjoying capturing images, documenting my experiences throughout the city, the more I realized I never even gave a second thought to any of it, and my resulting photos speak to that. I didn't have problems with it. So, and same with the rolling shutter. When we were riding a bus out to Kyoto, sticking the camera and photographing out the window as people were passing by, as the bus is passing by on the street, I didn't find any problems with the images as I was capturing them. So I think, again, that kind of whole point of the camera was fun to shoot with because it didn't make me think about any of those other things that we often tend to jump at online. Really is what changes the concept of this camera for me. Good question here for Tess. Since it does not have a mechanical shutter, can you do long exposures on it? How long can you keep the shutter open? Yes, you can do long exposures. This is something that we've done actually for the last couple of cameras, even in the electronic shutter mode. I'm just looking through the menu here to find the exact name of it so I can tell you exactly what it is. So in the camera, actually this one might not have it because it's always going to be on. Yeah, the S9's not actually going to have it in the menu because it's always on. It's always electronic shutter. Let me look at my G9 Mark II here. But there is there's a mode in the camera when you're looking at the various different shutters that you want to use within the camera. And one of them is the electronic plus noise reduction. When you use electronic plus noise reduction, which is the, I believe it's the default shutter function, on the S9, it lets you do full long exposure. So you can do, if I go into full manual, if we go in and I adjust my shutter speed down, I can do all the way to a timed exposure. So if I press the which is, there you go, it's another reason to look at this is closer to a point and shoot than the full frame camera. Instead of a bulb mode, which is you have to press and hold the shutter button down, and then when you release it, it stops the trigger. This camera has a timer option on it, which means I set the shot up, press the shutter button once, it starts the recording, and it will keep going until I press the shutter button again. I will have to look at if there's an actual formal limit on that. I think like on the S5 II and the 2X, like Live View Composite can only run for 3 hours, and then you have to start a new one. But yeah, I'd have to check a little bit further in on this one to see if you've got an actual number for you for tests. Let's see here. Let's see here. Looks like I've got another person in the chat here. Who am I looking for? Okay. All right. Where did the comments go? There they are. Again, if you decide to make comments without any addition to the conversation, you're getting put in timeout. Sorry. Okay. Where did we go here? Comments. Christian, are the RAWs of the S9 14-bit or 12-bit, or depending on the shooting mode? That one I have to double check on. I don't have the full information offhand, but like I said, I am going to be doing another stream on Thursday at 2 p.m., like our normal live stream time. So questions that I don't have answers to here, I will try to get answers for Thursday and get you that. When is the 18 to 40 coming? We haven't provided a release date on that yet. As soon as we get closer, we will let you all know. Hey, Sean, although okay, here we go. Hi, Sean. Although this is not S9 related, can you talk about how the pixel-to-pixel mode works for video on the S5 Mark II? Yeah, I mean, it's straight up the same as on the S9. Pixel-to-pixel mode for video capture means that literally, if I am recording 1920 by 1080, I'm recording full HD video, it is using the center 1920 by 1080 pixels. If I'm using 4K, it's the 3840 by 2160. If I'm using C4K, it's 4096 by 2160. That's what pixel to pixel means. It's the same on any of our cameras that have the option to do that. Hey, Sean Wilson, I will call people out in this part. Micro Four Thirds is not killed. I don't know how much more clear I could be about it. Yeah. So, if all you did was come here to say that, thank you. I appreciate your viewership. It helps with the analytics. Tommy says, as the owner of an original G9 and GH6, could they handle the real-time LUT feature through firmware, or are those processors already maxed out? I don't know. The original G9, I can pretty much guarantee is too old of a camera, firmware or hardware-wise, to do things like the real-time LUT and a lot of the newer stuff that we're doing. GH6, honestly, I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you. I just don't. So, JC, does the S9 have clean HDMI out? Are the same recording limits there with external HDMI recording? Straight up, the external HDMI out on the camera is it's clean HDMI, so you can send it out to an external recorder, and your recording at that point is as long as the camera stays cool, and you've got the feed going to an external recorder. Not actually recording footage in the camera is one of the things that can help save and extend life on not life. It extend how long you can record for. So I can do some tests of plugging this in over HDMI and just kind of letting it run, but we don't have an actual number for that one. Yeah. Let's see here. Aaron, so when is the next Micro Four Thirds release? Even if I did know, or I do know, I wouldn't tell you because that defeats the purpose of future product planning. William, Dustin Armstrong and Lumix USA. The more I learn about the S9, the more I want one. Thanks for fueling my gas. You're welcome, William. Bring us silver to the US. It would be nice. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Christian says, is it planned to put hybrid zoom and MP4 light into the S5 Mark II? Not 100% sure. If we get enough responses, our engineers are looking at this. Our feedback is being given to that entire team to kind of help determine what we can do in the future with this stuff. So, yeah. No, you recommend the Condor Blue handle. Have you ever seen their iPhone CF Express Mini Writer? It'd be amazing on a G9 too. S9. Encourage KB and Lumix collabs. CF is so much cheaper. I don't know if I agree with that, some dude. SSDs are actually a heck of a lot cheaper for the general storage, especially with the design. I can see an argument because of the ProBlade system versus general SSDs. CF Express cards in the same storage capacity are still more expensive for the ones that you actually need to use with the higher end recording. So man, again, sorry for the raspy voice here, y'all. I think I got time for a couple more questions, and then we will wrap for today and remind everybody that we are doing another stream on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, the normal time of Lumix Live. Hi, Sean. Can I use the S9 as a webcam on Apple Silicon Macs? Technically, it should be, because even the Apple Silicon Macs, they have that, what is it, Rosetta thing or whatever is supposed to convert the stuff. It should work. Outside of that, I just use one of these when I want to do live streaming on the go, because I find, one, if I want to do 4K, I can just do it with stuff like this, where the USB tethering is basically going to be... the USB tethering is closer to like 920. I think that's what most of them are, or closer to 1080. Yeah, at that point, most Apple Silicon users, I'd probably recommend just getting a simple capture card for it. You can just get better quality out of just using the USB stuff. How different is the Leica monochrome from the G9 Mark II profile in the default L monochrome profile presets in the S5 II? They are different. The Leica monochrome color profile in the G9 Mark II is designed by Leica for the camera. L monochrome profiles in the S5 II, the 2X, those cameras, they are different. Those are our designed black and white profiles. I think it may be worth discussing the 26mm f8 and why it's not the end of the world that it exists. It's a fun, small lens, very cheap. Yeah. So 26mm. This is the lens that I think a lot of people have kind of decided to have commentary about. Yes, it's a compact plastic lens. It is not a cheapo lens that you typically find optically wise for this concept of an optic. I have many images. Let me see if I can pull up a couple of them here in Lightroom to show y'all. I have many images of walking around the streets of Osaka and Dotonbori with this lens, just shooting from the hip, not even, shooting like I used to shoot medium format, C220s and stuff, where I know the distances I need to be at. I kind of set it roughly in the area. I know roughly where the hyperfocal distance is, and I'm just shooting. If I get great images, cool. If not, it's not the end of the world. So this lens is f8, 640, 4000 ISO. This is with LUTs applied. These are all JPEGs, by the way. And it's sharp. It's really sharp. It is sharper than it has any justification to be. Fact of the matter is, I know people kind of had a little concern because, we've just changed the phase autofocus, right? And we have a manual focus and an f8 lens. The fact is, the lens is designed to just be fun. It's designed to throw on the camera, walk around when you don't want to carry around a lot of other stuff with you. Like I said, those shots that I took at dinner, they were all on the 20. I can't speak. They were all on this lens, on this 26 millimeter, and I couldn't have been happier with the images that I was able to get out of it. Does that mean it's going to work for everybody? No, of course not. But that's also why you have so many different optics around. You have so many different choices for it. It's one of the things why in the United States, the 26 millimeter is a pre-order with the camera. If you pre-ordered or are pre-ordering the S9, you get a 26 millimeter. It's part of the promotion for the launching of the camera. It's a lens that I fully encourage people to play around with. It's a fun lens. It's designed for the smaller compact cameras. Am I going to use this on my S5 II or my S5 IIX? No, of course not. I want this in a case where I want something super small and compact. Like as an example, that's about at the mount plane. So I have the 26 millimeter. It's at f8, which if I'm shooting street photography, I'm gonna be at f8 anyway. Depth of field, street photography is not always about obliterating the background with bokeh. So I've got it ultra compact there. This is a 35 millimeter f2.8. Now, to be fair, this is a bit of a stretch for modern lenses. This is definitely not a modern lens, and it is full manually focus. But it goes back to that point when we take a breath, when we take a step back, and you look at, this is not trying to be a professional lens. The S9 is not trying to be a professional camera. It is a secondary, a third camera that some people may have. If you're in the professional side of the world, maybe it's the camera that you get because you want to break the norm for yourself and get out of the kind of lane that we are always in, day out, and just try to have some fun with the camera. If you're new, if you're looking at getting into interchangeable lens cameras and you're coming from mobile device and point and shoots, you get arguably the some of the best image quality you can get. You have, let's face it, we're Panasonic, we're LUMIX. Because we can do video features, we're not taking them out of cameras. We're not gonna say that just because this camera is an entry level that is designed for smartphone users or people coming up from point and shoots, that they're not deserving of shutter angle or waveform or the ability to play with anamorphics. These are platforms that help people build into getting bigger cameras. And that's really what it is. It's going to be a really fun camera for anyone that just wants to go out and create photos, create video, create the TikToks, man, I sounded so old there. Create TikToks, create Instagram Reels, have fun creating stuff. I know people don't like calling it content. Things that you can just go out there and create some fun stuff with it. Yeah. So. Okay. Let's see here. I have to wrap this up. It's 4:15 here down in Austin. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping in. Thank you for allowing everyone here to have a fun conversation. We are going to be back live this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is our normal live streaming time. If you liked this, if this was the first thing that you've or first experience that you've ever had with LUMIX Live, welcome. It's awesome. Welcome to the community. Share your thoughts. Tell us what you do. There are people in this community that have very similar likes and very similar interests, and there are people that are polar opposites of each other. But I can say wholeheartedly, this community is the one that has been amazing at understanding that not every product has to be built specifically for them, and that features across the board are going to be just use them in the area that works best for you. All of that said, thank you again so much, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you all so much, more than I think many of you can possibly understand. And yeah, I'm going to rest my voice because I want to be able to talk for the full time next on Thursday. And yeah, if you like the video, hit like, subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Optimus, sorry, but no, that's just your opinion. Cool. Thank you all again so much. I appreciate all of your comments. And yeah, we'll be back Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time here on YouTube. And just remember, just be nice to people. Get out there, create some cool images, share them online, let people see the work that you make. And yeah, later, everybody.